Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the October 20th, 2020 Board of Education meeting at 7:01 p.m. Sarah, good evening. Can I please have a roll call?
Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mr. Biondo?
Here.
Mrs. Lala? Here. Mr. Ludston?
Here.
Mr. Mazzano?
Here.
Mr. Palazzo?
Here.
Mr. Hughes?
Here. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Quorum has been established. Please stand for the pledge. Read the mission statement of the district.
Yes, President Palazzo. The mission of Norwich School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to action item. I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented and or modified.
I have a motion.
I'll second. Motion made by Pasquale, seconded by Renzo. Sarah, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ludston?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Mazzano?
Yep. Okay, thank you. That motion does carry. I'd like to recognize visitors tonight. Thank you all for coming to the meeting. Correspondence. No correspondence to report at this time. Lou, can you check the public participation, please? Okay, according to the sheet, there is no public participation. Moving on to FOIA requests. Since the last meeting, the district has received 2 FOIA requests, and I will read them as follows. By date in order, first one from Norwich Park Watchdog, Adam Chudzik, August 29th, 2020. Received August 31st, 2020, requesting the names and applications of all who applied for the current District 80 Board of Education vacancy. That's FOIA number 1. FOIA number 2, it's a little long, was from Kirkland and Ellis LLP, February 7, 2020, received on September 23rd, 2020, requesting public records that pertain to Norwich School District's grievance procedures for responding to complaints of sexual harassment, which includes but not limited to sexual assault and gender-based discrimination, as well as Norwich School District's anti-discriminatory policy. More specifically, we request a copy of Norwich School District's current anti-harassment and or anti-discrimination policy, copies of all documents outlining Norwich School District's current procedures for responding to sexual harassment and gender-based discrimination, including both peer sexual harassment and discrimination between district employees and students. Copies of any other documents or guidelines that impact the application and enforcement of these policies and procedures, and the name and contact information of Norwich School District's designated Title IX coordinator. Those are our 2 FOIA requests since the last meeting. Moving on to our presentation, Superintendent Palmer.
Great. So traditionally in October, Michelle and I present academic data. Normally, this takes us about an hour to go through our academic performance data from the previous school year, as reported out, things like Illinois Assessment of Readiness, the IAR test, and other standardized testing that we've done the year before. As you know, this is a very unusual year. So tonight, we are going to present a very abbreviated look at some academic data. We'd like to do this tonight as a placeholder, really, because this is something we do every year in October in anticipation of the school report card coming out. However, we also had the question in our mind, and I know it was on the board's mind as well, did our students experience a COVID slide? This is something that you may have heard of in the news. Other districts were very concerned about. And I'm happy to tell you tonight's thesis for our presentation is that we, because of the decisions made by our teacher teams, our DLAC and BLTs, as well as the administration, we do not have evidence of a COVID slide for math or reading. We have some data to show you, and we are happy to report that because of decisions we made last spring to focus all of our attention on getting through our math curriculum, as well as continuing with our reading and literacy programs, that we focused on the right things, and we're seeing results even this fall where our students are at a traditional place. So without further ado, we have data that we have decided to do this fall with our math program is from Curriculum Associates, which is Ready Math at the grade school and then 5th grade. And they produced a diagnostic along with their intervention model called iReady. And so tonight we'll be presenting mostly data from iReady. So the first slide is a fall-to-fall analysis at Giles School that shows reading readiness of our students in the fall. So if you think that these two triangles and the percentages they represent look very similar, it's because they are. We made sure to, it's a very similar group of students in fall of 2019 and fall of 2020. And as you can see, they're just as behind or just as ready for school this fall as they were last fall. What that means in junior high is we have roughly 25%, which is our low quartile, that needs intervention. And what we've seen is that this is where one of our district goals really is this year, is to focus on our MTSS model, trying to get our students who fall in the warning or commensurate sort of middle ground, trying to get them up to the readiness or at grade level, which is represented by the green. About 2/3 of our students are ready for grade level work, and we'd like all of them to be. So we asked ourselves, last spring at Giles, we did a pilot. We decided to give our iReady spring test in reading and math, despite the fact that we were remote. And we allowed students and their parents to opt out. So these data represent an analysis of students who actually took the test in the winter, the spring, and now the fall. So these are the same students. We excluded students who didn't test in the spring or who opted out. As it turned out, about 85 to 90%, depending on the grade level, of our students decided to take the test. So this is representing most of our students. But as you can see, the blue line, just from far back, represents our students who tested in the winter. The red is in the spring, and this is just reading. And then again this fall. It's traditional that students have summer slide, that they step back a little in the summer. The good news is the yellow line is higher than the blue line, which means that they're increasing their knowledge of reading and holding on to it in the fall. Now, it's always instructive to look at comparing ourselves to ourselves, like fall over fall data. And it's always good to look at student groups and are they progressing. But we always wonder, how do our students compare to national average? Now, iReady is not a true national average. Math, for example, is a much bigger pool of test scores. But what these data show is that we are comparing to all of the students who take iReady assessments. So it's a much bigger pool. Where do Giles students fall compared to all the other kids that take this test? And as a cohort, we're landing last fall at about 50th percentile, a little lower for the class of 2022. Then it shows in the winter we've made significant gains, and they've held on to those gains as a cohort coming into this fall. So we're pretty excited about that we're moving the entire group of students in their comparison to a larger group of national or a larger group of national averages. Now math is another interesting thing. Like I said, we made sure that we got through the math curriculum. That was one of our big goals for last spring at Giles. And as you can see, we went from 12% that were at grade level standards to 40% by the end of the school year. So we're moving our students up. Are we excited about these data? I would like to see it march higher, of course, but I think these were impressive, especially considering the circumstances of our teaching last spring. So it's a better look if you take a look at our percentage of students who are on grade level in mathematics. In the fall, only 39% of our sixth graders, only 45% of our seventh graders, and only 39% of our eighth graders were on grade level or above. By the end of the year, this was far more like what we would expect. 2/3 of our students, again, that's where we should be, about 2/3 of our students are on grade level or above. So our teachers really pulled those kids up by the end of the year. And remember, these data are pure where the fall and spring match. The students who took that test in the fall and the students who took that test in the spring are the same students. We took out students who didn't have both test scores. So this percentage change was pretty impressive.
So looking at the iReady data for Lee, and iReady at Lee is only in the math program. At the beginning of fall last year, 2019, we did see 3% of the students in that tier 3 area. In the fall of 2020, which we just took, we see 2%. So a slight improvement there. For future tiers, we're looking at 85% in tier 1. What this represents is the students who are on grade level ready for the next level of math. We're really proud of this. One of the things that we did at Lee for math, because math is always the area that parents struggle with. Parents struggle helping their kids with math. So when we went remote in the spring, we recorded math lessons. We offered support for math, and we're really proud of the numbers that have come out because of that. Looking at our students, our kindergartners, which we really can't take credit for right now because we just got them, unless they happen to be in our preschool program, 100% of them are ready for kindergarten math. And then you can see the other tiers, the greens, very little red in a couple of grades, and of course in our couple yellows areas, which is our target areas we're working on. The only ELA data that we have at this point, because we did not take math at the end of the year last year, we didn't take math at the beginning of the year this year. So the ELA data that we have is our freckle data. And what freckle data is showing us that 84% of our students in ELA are on grade level. They're growing, they're where they should be. 16% are struggling, that we need to work with, and that we've already, since this year started, we have seen a 0.68% in grade level growth from where we were when we were finishing the spring last year. So while it's not math data that we're used to showing you at this time of the year, it's not IR data, it is the data we have. So it's the data that we're working on and that we're focusing with the students on. And that is it.
Questions? Concerns? Yes, Mr. Liston.
So going back, I've been on over 3 years now, and it seems that even the data prior to the grade center switch, it seems like the junior high grades never seem to have as much green as the lower grades. There has been curriculum purchased, there has been changes made, and I know we have a staff that can accomplish it. Taking COVID out of it, is there something that we're missing, that even pre-COVID, we're not getting that junior high level to be all 2/3 green? We constantly have this big gap in those junior high grades. So moving forward, what can we look at? How do we improve that?
So one of the things, like I said, is a district goal for us this year is really working on our MTSS model. What that does is it targets that tier 3 to red kids who are really far behind, at least 2 grade levels behind, and the yellow scorers who are about a grade level behind, trying to bring those students up to grade level. But that being said, the phenomenon you just described is a classic case of students who learn slowly or who are bad at reading or don't like math. They learn slower as the grades go on. So as a former high school person, you see the trajectory that line, the kids who do well get faster and go farther, and the kids who learn slower continue to learn slower. They improve, they're making gains, but their trajectory is just not the same. And as you grow in the grade levels, the material gets harder, the hill gets harder to climb academically. And it's just a phenomenon you see every year. I wish we could all be like kindergarten, where 100% are in green, right? But even then, we see kids starting to do that separation. We, for example, believe in not holding back those upper kids. So we have 11 students right now who are over at Ridgewood taking high school courses. We have students all the way along in junior high advancing in coursework. That is only going to make that look worse because we aren't holding back those top kids. But that's okay, as long as we look at the students in red and making sure they're continuing to make gains. And our goal is to get them to grade level by the time they graduate. We see impressive gains as we go through junior high. In our new ELA curriculum has proven to bring those scores up. And our math curriculum continues to show that as you go along, they're getting better. We're pulling up that high. It really is showing. And I can give you more data. We want to get to the next diagnostic in the winter because we feel like it's such a disrupted year. We really would like to see everything kind of calm down. Any other questions? I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie. Michelle. Monthly report. Mrs. Guzik. Michelle.
Do you mind if we start with the superintendent?
I can start. Yeah, hold on. Just let me.
I'll put it all in.
Let me just get settled. So the first thing I'd like to bring up is an update on our website. We had aimed to get our website up and running by October 1st. We were delayed actually by the company. The company final site does a conversion, and they just gave us their sign-off that their conversion was complete on October 19th, yesterday. We got an email. So now we are anticipating we will transition to the new website. It will be up and running by November 1st. We have to populate it with some pictures. We have to do some final data. A website's never really done. You're always upgrading it. You're always improving it. But we believe it will be ready to go, and you will notice a huge difference November 1st.
Let me just add Stephanie real quick. For the community that's here, the board approved a new website, as Stephanie said. It's going to be very compatible with your cell phone, and it's going to be way more modernized than what it is now.
Yeah, I've seen a preview. It looks fantastic. So
It's been maintained and it's been set up in-house in the past. Now it's being set up via a company and very modernized. Just so you know.
Tonight, we also would like to give you an update on our enhanced hybrid model. We provided some numbers to the board regarding our enrollment. We have, I'm going to let Michelle speak to the numbers at Lee School, But at Giles, we have 25% of our students now here every day. So we've offered seats to students who we believe are our most struggling learners, our students represented in red and yellow, for example. We've offered seats every day, so they come 5 days a week, in person in the morning. Everyone is still remote in the afternoon. We are also seeing about 30% of our students still 100% remote. And then the rest of the students are 2 or 3 days a week. So we started our Wednesdays. Tomorrow will be our second Wednesday in person. So we're super excited about that. This month, we had our first ever combined PTA meeting. It was great. It was via Zoom. We had 43 participants. It was very well attended. I think these Zoom PTA meetings are wonderful. We get lots of participation, lots of enthusiasm. They have some great ideas this year, and they're looking to be so supportive of both Lee and Giles. So we're super excited about that. Giles is planning for next week, which of course ends with Halloween on Saturday. We are planning a Spirit Week for Red Ribbon Week, which is our initiative to, remain drug-free. We have some dress-up days, and it basically culminates in a Spirit Week. We are not encouraging students to wear costumes this year. We believe it's a little too cumbersome with the COVID school, but we'll have some opportunities for some kind of junior high level fun things throughout the week. And finally, we are continuing last week, this week, with our safety week. So we are going through our fire drills, our tornado drills, our lockdown drills. We usually do this the second or third week of school, but we had to delay it due to COVID school, but we're getting it done. So getting those traditional drills done at both schools, actually. So that's a good segue over to Michelle.
Yes, we are as well. It's an interesting twist on the safety drills this year because we don't have a day that all of the students are in the building. So we have to do a fire drill for the A-B students and for the A students and for the B students, and then do it again and then do it again. So we have fire drills this week, Thursday, with the fire department who come in and observe. And then continuing, we still have the tornado drill that the left to do as well. And the lockdown, which is Tuesday next week. And it's kind of a COVID-style lockdown. We're not going to have the children be close to each other in the corner of the classroom, quite frankly, because we want to keep them, make sure everyone stays distanced. But we'll still talk through everything with them. Looking at our hybrid model at Lee. So the kindergarten teams had an opportunity the parents had an opportunity of anyone who wanted to come in full-time up to 4 days could. So currently we have a lot of our kindergarten children, 78 of them, in person every day, every week, which is great. In first and second grade, we actually have half of our grade in 4 or 5 days a week, every 5 days a week, which we're really excited about. And then we are about the same 25% with third and fourth grade. The Wednesdays look a little bit different at Lee. So what happens on Wednesdays is Group A would come in on Wednesday and they stay till 11, and then Group B is online for that math lesson that we discussed last month and how important it is for us to have a teacher actually teach a math lesson, and I think our data has really shown that. And by the way, this is our second year of our new math curriculum. So that data that we looked at, I couldn't trend back any further than what we have. And then the second one, then the rest of the time on that Wednesday, they do extended activities, science, and then the next week, Wednesday, the Group B come in and they switch schedules. We brought in our special education self-contained classroom that Mr. Dorr has been working with. Those are 6 children at Lee that are in actually full day from 8:15 to 3:30. They are eating lunch at Lee also. And everything seems to be going well. We're still looking at our rooms, looking at our data to see if there's anyone else that we feel might need to come in. I echo Stephanie's remarks about PTA. It was very nice to see everyone together. I think we have some challenges with PTA this year, like not being able to have the Halloween party and all of the fun events that we normally have. So we had a BLT meeting today, and I reached out to my BLT to see if they had some other ideas they're hearing about in other schools too, of things that we can do. And finally, in our PBIS program, our students have been earning their paws and turning them in for different prizes in the PBIS store. Our PBIS prizes are little like Smencils, things like that that the students want. We don't have food in our PBIS prizes, but we have a lot of things that the students do desire to have. So that's been going really well. And that's it for me.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Dr. or Michelle?
Okay, kind of a soft question, it's not putting on a spot. In the news today, news about numbers going up, possible restrictions, and anything that's out from the CDC or the school board, obviously we want to safely progress into as much as we can, but with the talks on the news today of numbers going up and the state possibly putting more restrictions, are we at any risk of having to revert from our new hybrid and cut down the numbers, or are we still sitting at a status quo?
We are always at risk since the day we opened of shutting down a room, a grade level, a program like we did preschool, at any time. But we also could very well go remote by fiat of the governor. They have recommended 100% remote now in Lake County and in DuPage County. So if they do that in Cook County, we could go 100% remote. And we've talked about it today at ELEC about, the students at Lee, in order to go 100% remote, they have to take things home that, it would take us a day to turn it around. Like we would have to have a pickup day if we didn't have any warning of going remote. If it is the metrics analysis that they would do, my guess is they would give us 48 hours and we would have our students be able to take things home or pick things up if they were remote, if they needed anything. So it may or may not take a day off in between if we were to go 100% remote. But again, some things are beyond all of our control. Right now, we are going forward with our enhanced hybrid model. We also today issued a letter to our school community about 2 families who tested positive. Both, luckily, were not in close contact with anyone or were not at school when they were actively sick. So therefore, we didn't have to quarantine anyone, but that could happen any day. So we're always just waiting for the other shoe to drop, as they say.
Anyone else from the board? Michelle, quick question for you. And somewhat pertains to action item 19 when we get there later on in the meeting. 19A is an add-on. At Lee School, we'll go for grades 1 through 4. All those grades now have 5 teachers, or will have 5 teachers. There's not one teacher that's assigned as just online teacher, right? They all have students in the classroom.
No, that is incorrect.
They have, okay, can you clarify that?
Yep. In every grade level, so talking about just 1 through 4 at this
1 through
moment,
4. 1 through 4.
there is one teacher in every one of those grade levels that is online with the group in the morning and online with the group in the afternoon.
Okay.
In
Yeah, only because
kindergarten.
on the chart that Stephanie sent us, there's 5 teachers, 5 sections. I just wanted some clarity on that to make sure that we're staying the same, that's all.
Kindergarten ended up that we have all 4 of the kindergarten teachers teaching an AM session, and then 2 of them teaching an in-person PM session, and 2 of them teaching an online
So your designated online teacher from 1 through 4, nobody's in their rooms.
Inside the classroom?
Okay. Thank you. One other comment I had, Stephanie, I don't think you mentioned it, there's going to be a survey going out to the remote learners.
yeah.
Right? You want to mention that?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
So by the end of the week, we are sending out to parents a new Google form to preference their learning model for second trimester. So either 100% remote, 2 or 3 days hybrid, or 4 to 5 days in-person preference. Now, we may not be able to accommodate all of the people who say, hey, I want to be in class every day in person, but we want to know their preference. And so that will go out this week, and it will be due by October 30th so that we have some time to plan. The new learning model placements will go into effect after Thanksgiving week off, because our trimester ends November 20th, and then we come back after Thanksgiving in second trimester. So we have about a month to plan and get out the new schedules, which can be very complicated at Lee School, so, yeah. But yes, we're hoping to accommodate our preferences. We don't know. We don't know how many of our 100% remote students will remain that way. We have an opportunity to change your model for second trimester. So, we'll see.
Anyone else on the board? Okay, Michelle, Stephanie, thank you. Moving on to our board committees. Board policies and development. Later on, I'll mention we have some readings tonight under policy development. Building and grounds. Frank?
Okay. This is going to be lengthy because I feel we have to talk about this, and even if this is restating a bunch of things you heard, it's important that you hear it, so we consider it, sort of around your head, so when we all sit and talk about it, we can make better decisions. So a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, we had the meeting, facilities meeting, and a lot was thrown at us. So I'm going to recap some of that and cross-reference it with some other things. So we heard about the life safety study that was completed last December, January, and it's going to be submitted to the state later this year, a month or two. It's subdivided by level 1 being urgent, to be completed 1 year, estimated at $350,000, but $100,000 of that has already been spent on all the door projects, so if you're using that math, it leaves about $250,000. I'll get to something about that in a bit. Level 2, required to be completed in 3 years, estimated at $550,000. And level 3, recommended to be done when, if you can, unknown price. So, noted by the staff and STR, and Alan from STR said this in many different ways at many different times. If the district staff is able to perform the work, all power to us, it can greatly reduce those total costs that I just mentioned. Those are pretty high dollar amounts, but I'm 99% sure that they can be chipped away at using our own district employees. Of course, there's plenty we have to hire out, but that's about life safety. Within the life safety, though, we, and I mentioned before, replacing the wood ceiling of the 5th grade wing. Still ideas going on about that. RPZ backflow valves at both schools to be at least several $1,000s. Plumbing pipe replacement of existing galvanized, but some ideas are being thrown around about putting hot water heaters at points of use, sinks, particular ones, and replacing plumbing is so comprehensive you have to do it section by section. That would be the plan. Some of it's like first, but there's going to be a plan put together. Flooring replacement was another big part of life safety next to the doors. So we addressed the doors. So, but the flooring is a lot of it is vinyl tile. It would be done internally, and then areas that are carpeted where it has to be investigated what asbestos is underneath, and the abatement procedures that are part and parcel to that, and their costs. But there may be a room or two, I think. Between both schools, there are 5 chillers, and as they're being maintained, their condition and possible replacements being reviewed. A hierarchy of which to be replaced before others is in the works. As known, this equipment is very costly, but one factor, as I mentioned, is installation by our own district staff. About that, Pat Rossi explains that Joe Vitale and himself are talking to the company Train on preliminary options on chiller and VAS replacement. Train is the prominent company in the industry with this type of equipment, and they're already starting to talk on what their offerings are. Building automation system, VAS. We heard from Pat, as explained in detail. The Building and Grounds Department believe we have about 4 or 5 years left with the system we have, and that's after recent analysis and maintenance corrections done by proficient controls and disrated staff. But, and among our bills, there's one going to proficient controls, $14,000. But it bought our VAS system a lot of life, and we're in a much better position with our HVAC systems for mechanicals in general. Another thing mentioned was a STEM lab, which is utilizing the old home ec room. The location is already sufficient because it's double classroom size, and by the utilities already in place there. STR considers an expenditure in the scale of $60,000 as basic to $200,000 as a lab. Another example of how our internal effort and even volunteer work for those in the trades in our town could reduce the cost. And about that, the Building and Grounds Department would like to meet to discuss getting to work on that, at least the demo of that room over winter break. As you know, there's a lot of old stoves, this and that. So there's a lot of work to be done to prepare for what will be a STEM lab, and I'm all for that. Using winter break as a project time to get that started. Changing rooms in Giles, utilizing unused rooms down the hall from the gym. We need to end the use of the basement locker rooms so allowing anyone to use the basement. This then has the advantage that any life safety issues that are stemming from the basement and the risks of any issues down there are no longer need to be addressed because students and even staff are barely going down there. So we have to look into that further. Boys and girls bathrooms that I've mentioned a few times in the last number of months. The renovation is moving along. Lou has helped with the layout and planning of the fixtures in there with Pat. And the coming weeks, flooring is to be scheduled. And then installation of fixtures is next. The target date was sometime in October, but like most projects, it's taking a little longer, but it's moving along. As Pat mentioned, about talking to NICOR and ComEd, he's already started that. He and Joe Vitale had a conference call with NICOR about energy efficient grants, and the first step is the free assessment, which they're going to schedule. And similarly, they're going to talk to ComEd very soon about working on a time to meet to discuss that. And one last thing, which is really good. About 2 years ago, a security window and automated locks were added to the Lee entrance. You can call this phase 1. Phase 2 would be to reconfigure and reconstruct Lee's front, the foyer, and create a new office entrance door. This was originally discussed in 2018, and STR provided information and initial planning on how to have it done. It even included some drawings. Phase 1 was funded by NSF, who now wants to fund Phase 2, and has recently discussed planning and ideas with administration and review those 2018 plans that still hold true to what could and should be done. Basically, if you can imagine walking through the front entrance of Lee, you walk in, you're buzzed in those front outside doors, you speak to someone at the security window, and then you're buzzed in those double doors past the foyer there to get in the hall. Well, that just still doesn't remedy the fact that once the person's through, they can go anywhere in the school. they need to be physically disabled from going anywhere but the office. So the idea is taking the glass and metal framing foyer, bringing it out, elbowing it to join to the office, and then putting a new office entrance. So you walk in, you speak to someone, you're buzzed in, but you're buzzed in to go right into the office and no further. And NSF is on top of this, they're willing to fund this. So I leave that a good note with that. But things are moving right along, and again, in the coming weeks, I urge us to get together and talk a little more in depth about this, what we see as priority, and I have full confidence that Rossi will get quotes timely way, and finance will touch on further funding. That's it.
Lou? Council? Any comments or questions, board?
I have a comment. So the request that you made about the winter break demolition for that room, can we just vote on it, give a thumbs up to move forward with that, or are we going to present it at the next meeting? What would you guys like to do?
I don't know. I wonder. I think because it was described as if he knows he's going to have some time or a window of time to do that. And similar to a lot of other cleaning, you can call it a form of cleaning he's done. He may just proceed with it because at this point we're talking about a large room filled with cabinets that are not used, ovens that are maybe 1982 model ovens. A lot of locations that get a dumpster, they could just get that stuff right out, and it'll even give them a leg up on seeing just how extensive all the electrical that's available, water, and I don't know. I think talking to find out.
I think you should let him call the shot on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that he knows he'll do it safely with no liability issues. He even wants to tear down some walls. I'm sure getting rid of some of the storage is actually expose some of the walls itself. So we'll have to find out if it involves.
I just want to say that I approve it, and I would, vote in favor of that. So whenever we need to make that decision formally, I think STEM is definitely the right direction to go in this district, and we definitely need to be in that arena so our kids can really take the full advantages of the sciences. So,
Absolutely.
anybody else have any comments?
So I think right now we're talking about just the initial start of getting that room cleaned out.
Yeah.
Because the board was given, a large area going between 60,000 and 200,000. We gotta, make sure of what we want, what type of budget we want.
Okay.
So this would just be an initial phase of wintertime as of this point, unless the board talked about what plan moving forward. So this is just while they have the time, less kids are winter break cleaning out.
If there was, whatever accepted demo, I would be certain that Pat wouldn't leave it in any state that it would be anywhere in the realm of dangerous. By that I mean...
We aren't using those.
You can plug the gas lines, the water lines.
Right, no, I'm saying with the swelling, is if that gets going, we can look at the funding and then the board can discuss what level, what the next part of that would be.
Yeah, we can't even discuss funding until we know what we're up against. Who knows what's underneath there in the middle, though? I mean, how far, what kind of damage the gas lines are in? I mean, there are gas lines there, right? Not electric. Yeah.
I think demo goes hand in hand with allowing quotes, because if any contractor were to walk in a room and see it filled with a bunch of crap, they're like, I don't know what to tell you, I can't tell with the electric.
They're going to bid high.
Yeah.
I would.
I think they have to do the demo too.
Right.
So
one of the advantages of cleaning it up is to get a better understanding of what needs to be done and code.
yeah.
It's vacant, so it's either way, it's going to help us.
This is a winter break project.
Yeah.
What I think we need to do, Frank, and you can kind of help quarterback this, I think there's a couple different plays that we have going on, and I think we need to get the playbook established. Because, we had Craig a couple weeks ago speak of the bond situation, There's also the 10-year life safety study. There's the 5-year strategic plan, hopefully that we can kind of start implementing some of those things priority-wise. What I think we need is, we need a committee of the whole, or we need a board retreat, one of however we want to set it up, and we need to have some serious discussions as to how we're going to move forward in the next 6 months. Because if I'm not mistaken, right, Craig made it a point to advise us that these projects need to be almost like ready what we want to do. Did I understand that correctly? And then, so I feel we know there's things that need to be done, but I don't think that we're set as to how we want to approach it as a board and as a district. So, you know what I'm saying, Frank? I think we need a committee of the whole.
What you described is a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
How we fund it, where we bond this and that, and it plays right into these things I
Yeah.
brought up.
Well,
Right,
yeah,
so-
how we know we can afford it if we don't know what it costs, and that goes into your strategic plan and everything else that goes along with it.
Well, that's why, I mean, time doesn't stop. So, I mean, it's going to be January before we know it, and then, you know, not that we're trying to rush.
Yeah.
We need to be a little bit quick though, but not necessarily hurry on it. So, but you know what I mean? So I would suggest, and what does the rest of the board think, as far as another committee of the whole, specifically with Pat, Jan Magnuson, and we need to really start putting it on paper and deciding how we want to go with it.
I mean, is this going to interfere with us getting these bathrooms done? Because I really think that we need to get these bathrooms done before we even,
That project's already been approved and is moving forward.
okay, as long as it's not, okay.
That
God
has
bless.
nothing to do with
Another
it.
meeting of the whole.
So that's, I mean, we're on a bigger scope, right? We're on that 10-year life safety, which the doors have already been addressed. So that's a big piece of it, right? Frank, you mentioned it's 100,000 of it,
Yeah.
but there's a lot more going on. So, and I go back to what Pat said last meeting, you know, some areas or some rooms, if we're not going to use, they don't necessarily need to be addressed. So there's a lot of moving parts here,
Yeah.
and it could be a little overwhelming. So we need to get back into the room sooner than later. So what would be your suggestions as to when we do that? Sooner than later? I mean, we're talking like 2 weeks. Can we
I
at
need
least-
next week to work on that bathroom. So if you guys want to have a meeting, it'd have to be at least 2 weeks from now.
What I'm a little nervous about is time moving. Time's not going to stop. We're going to get into the holiday season. Things are going to get a little bit busier, and then we're gonna. I don't want to rush that decision. I don't want to rush what we're going to prioritize and how we're going to go about doing it. So we know it needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
The board needs to decide if we're going to move forward with the bond. The board needs to decide what we're going to do with that bond, how we're going to prioritize it. So I don't think we're there. To be honest and to be fair, we know what needs to be done, but we really need to kind of like break that down now. So Frank, if you can help quarterback it with Pat and Jan, and let's get a meeting in the next tentatively 2 to 3 weeks here, tops.
Yeah, well, with that, I mean, Pat will know, because there's a lot of gray areas of things that he says we can do in-house, and some things that we can bypass with the life safety study. So it would be nice to know that prior going into it, so we know what extra funds we have, that we know we could save in-house. So I think it stems on how quickly Pat can actually give us figures on what you can do in-house and not, because that just opens up more funding for other things. I hate to go into something thinking it's going to cost us $300 and we budgeted for that and it's less, and then we can plan ahead for, you know, potentially something else. So I think it stems on Pat, how quick he can get that.
Yeah, and from what I'm seeing, Pat was quick.
So I said 2 to 3 weeks, Frank, but I mean, talk to Pat, and
Yeah, we need
2 to
some
3
time.
weeks is a little bit different.
Yeah, we need some
Or
time.
Lou, somebody talk to him.
Would
But,
you like a Saturday morning retreat?
I just want to get this bathroom done.
Whatever's
My mind
good for
is-
everybody, it doesn't bother me on a Saturday, I have no problem with that.
We can aim for about 3 weeks.
Like November 6th?
Okay, as long as it's at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the type of meeting I really am hoping for is the board talking really at length. Public can be there, or chime in, but complete open forum, no presentations, just discussion.
Well, I think, yeah, and I agree with you. I think, right, there's a 10-year life safety study that was done. We know what's on that study. We want to implement a 5-year plan with monies from the bond and from Craig's presentation. So it's there. The pieces are there, but they're nowhere near put together. So we need to we need to roll up the sleeves on that one. But yeah, so talk to Pat. Frank, if you can communicate with Stephanie or myself, we can get an email out and try to coordinate a date with the board, and we're going to move on that. Anyone else? Thanks, Frank, for the report. Communications.
Nothing to report on at this time. Yes, you got it. So, yes, we do have something else to report. We have, what is your name again? Bonnie, Athena's sister.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sandy Theodore.
She is going to be joining the communications committee along with Kevin Miller, has reached out and has shown interest that he'd also like to be on the committee. So I just wanted to run that by the board. I don't think anybody has an issue with Kevin.
So with the two new members joining now, Dana's still a part of it?
Yes,
Correct?
Dana's
Because all the
still-
people are on the communications total.
So it is myself, Tim Lunston, Maria Lala, the two new members, plus Dana. And then Jeff Allen. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Jeff Allen.
Which we need to address as well, because that's three board members on the committee.
Well, maybe we can address that when we get further down in committee reports under IASB.
Why would that?
Because then we would need a special meeting, yeah.
Yeah, but yes, we do, yes. Anybody else? Communications or comments? Thank you, gentlemen. Finance.
Not much, but Finance Committee, speaking on behalf of the Finance Committee, they were here at the same meeting Frank was talking about. A lot of dialogue, a lot of information, more on the building and ground side. Finance Committee is just looking for numbers now, so we need to work hard to put some figures together so they can start working it into the budget and the life safety study. I'm sorry, the 5-year strategic plan. In regards to the bond info, should we start the process of just getting the information? I know Craig mentioned that, at least get the ball rolling of, you know.
He'd like to explore rates
Right.
and ratings and bring some proposals forward in November. That would be very nice, yeah.
Okay.
That would be prudent.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's pretty much on the finance, they're just looking for numbers, so we have to work hard to provide them figures so they can start working it into the budget.
So example, right, if I am understanding correctly, when we get our meeting in 2 or 3 weeks with Pat and Jan, not necessarily finance at that point. Whatever we have, we put to paper and we can get our plan going, then that's when we incorporate the finance as to what the numbers are going to look like. So we need to start looking at is when we're bringing certain entities in and when we're going to hold on to them for a later date, that's what you're saying.
Correct. We need to decide on what will be used with bond money and what we would be investing within our budget today for specific projects. So, yeah, we're just looking for numbers. So, I don't think we'll meet until we have that again.
That's one tiny thing that, how Craig presented that, Dr. Schilling, you know, in the past, he's always very comprehensive in what he explains, and he says, your options are this, 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 and this. It's up to you. But this time, he sure made that bond issue sound like, don't be fools. You really need to look into this. You may not get this opportunity again. You know you need the help, and you should line it up with your life safety in 10 years. So that's what really resonated with me, and I definitely factor in how serious that is.
I think there's a reason why we consulted with Dr. Schilling, and he's obviously got the knowledge, the know-how, and, you know, he would be with us if we didn't take his recommendation. So I also support and echo those comments too.
So I'll contact Dr. Schilling and have him bring forward some information at the next board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, like Renzo said, bring it forward, and then at the end of the day, the board, each individual member is going to have a vote on it, and we'll go
They'll have
from there.
an
But
opportunity
there's
to vote,
there's no
yeah.
harm and no loss in bringing it forward.
Right.
Tim?
Yeah,
So-
Tim.
So considering from the last meeting, we had a presentation with the public, just so it's on tape, officially, the board is giving the blessing for the superintendent and the finance committee to work with Dr. Schilling to start doing investigations into that grant.
I believe that's what I'm hearing. I believe so, yes.
Just
Yeah.
want to make sure it's
Yeah.
clear on tape and going out to public.
Yeah, yeah. And again, to be clear, just to add on, a little add-on, nothing has been voted on, but we need to do our homework, we need to do our due diligence, and then when it gets presented as to what the numbers are specifically, then we vote on it. But by no means is a vote taking place, but we need to start doing the work on that.
Right.
Or Craig, getting it down. Anybody else for finance? Thank you. Thank you for the finance. Negotiations, no, I don't have anything to report. Negotiations committee does not really have a report tonight. Norwich Park District.
No, we, at this time, will not have anything to discuss regarding the Park District. We are moving forward with a new lease agreement, and we are,
Still out at the lawyers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions for the committee of Norwich Park? This brings me to the last committee, the comment I made a couple minutes ago. We have no IASB representation at the moment. So instead of putting it on the agenda every month, the board needs to make a decision. Some school districts, and I called around, they don't have an IASB delegate per se, but if we want to maintain that, if somebody's interested in doing that, I don't want to put anybody on the spot specifically, but if you are interested, send me an email, or send Stephanie the email, copy me in, and then we can get a delegate filled with that. We don't have it. So without a delegate, it's hard to report on any IASB.
We did get a committee report
Yeah.
tonight, so.
Each board member should have a committee
Yeah.
report for their review after tonight's meeting.
And I will add, with the IASB delegate, the position basically just reports out any upcoming events that the IASB is holding. Like, we're going to have a spring, not a spring, it'll be fall, it'll be the fall presentation, and it's going to be via online.
Yeah.
So those are the types of updates that individual would just give the team as what is with the ISB. And plus, if we're all part of the board, we get those notifications in our emails through the school district, so we know what's coming up.
So I think it's, by next month, we make a decision whether we want to have somebody who's an IASB delegate and represent the board. If not, then we can just go as well, like you said, everybody gets the emails and we kind of just piece it together that way. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's nice to have representation from the district, but let me know. Old business. As mentioned before, board policy and development. We have a couple readings tonight. Policy 5.122 is our third reading tonight. Issues 104 and 105 will be our first reading. Any new business the board would like to bring up or comment about? Board comments outside of new business? All right, that's going to move us to closed session. I need a motion to adjourn the closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and review of closed session minutes.
I will motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Pasquale, seconded by Tim. I did hear Tim. Sarah, can I please have a roll call?
Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mr. Ludson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Just for note, it's 7:59. I asked the board to be in closed session at 10 after 8.
Yep.
I need a motion to return to open session.
A second.
Okay, motion made by Lou, seconded by Pasquale. We'll note the time of 9:20. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, we're now back in open session. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on it?
A motion.
I second.
Motion made by Lou, seconded by Pasquale. Sarah, roll call, please.
Mr. Mazzano? Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Ludson?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to our action items this evening. I need a motion to approve the hiring of Marta Segovia, second grade and lead school. Any discussion? Okay, I'll look for that motion.
First.
Pasquale, seconded by Maria. Sarah, roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mr. Ludson?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. I need a motion to approve employee leave of absence request for Jennifer Berger, fourth grade at Lee School. Any discussion? Okay.
A motion.
Second.
Motion Pasquale, seconded by Lou. Roll call, please.
Mr. Viano.
Yes.
Mr. Lozano. Mr. Tribuzio.
Yes.
Mr. Plaza.
Yes.
Mr. Westman.
Yes.
Mr. Berardi.
Yes.
Mrs. Blatman.
Yes.
Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the hiring of a long-term sub at Lee School. Any discussion?
Do you have an idea who that is, or are we just posting for the long-term stuff?
We are looking at a sub that's been in our building,
Okay.
or a daily sub, and we're looking for that position.
How many subs are we looking for?
As many as we can find.
All right.
I will motion, President Plaza.
One more question. There's Michelle, long-term defined as school year?
Yeah.
For the leave.
For the leave, this.
No.
So it's for Jenny's leave.
Okay, so that's my question. What's the definition of long-term?
There's,
5 weeks.
For the leave, for whatever the leave time
Gotcha.
is in this case, in this
Understood.
particular case.
Okay, thank you. I'll look for that motion.
A motion.
Pasquale,
Second.
seconded by Maria. Roll call, please.
Mr. Viano.
Yes.
Mrs. Blatman. Yes. Mr. Tribuzio.
Yes.
Mr. Berardi.
yes.
Mr. Westman.
Yes.
Mr. Lozano. Mr. Plaza.
Yes. Motion carries. Board meeting reflection time.
What time do you want? So I can hear it's up 30, the first
I need a motion to adjourn at 9:23 p.m.
I will motion.
Wow.
Second motion, second by Pasquale, seconded by Maria. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, thank you, everybody. Meeting is now adjourned.